The MMORPG, a once great communal experience where people from all over the world would gather, socialize, play and cooperate in order to achieve a common goal that was impossible to achieve on their own. Slowly, these experiences started to deteriorate to the point where nowadays they are little more than vehicles for monetization formulas with little soul or passion behind them. Let us take a look at what once was and what has become of what used to be my favorite video game genre. In order to make any sense of what happened, we will have to focus on each aspect of the MMORPG and how it has been transformed over the past 25 years. Part 1. Community. If you ask any MMO veteran the same question, what is the most important thing their favorite MMO had, they will all answer the same: the community. In hindsight, the greatest treasure actually was the friends we made along the way. Back in those days, the idea of coexisting in the same virtual space with people from all over the world was not only fresh, but also innocent. Imagine, if you will, a time before edgelords, engagement trolls, OnlyFans entertainers, FBI agents, propaganda trolls, rage baiters and scambots. A space where you would get to know the people for what they want to be seen as instead of what they actually are, the ideal version of themselves, digitized. Well, okay, it wasn't that pure. But definitely not the toxic cesspit that it has become nowadays. Since broadband was not that widespread yet, voice communication was rare to say the least, and video communication was only available in science fiction movies.
Open hailing frequencies.
Frequencies open, sir.
MMORPGs were not just games back then, but also social hubs. Typing in chat was the only way to communicate with other players, with the exception of those guilds that would pay for Vent or TeamSpeak. Trading was done through chat. Teams were formed through chat. Guilds would communicate through chat and maybe forums. In-game chat was the main form of communication back in the day, and as a result, a lot of thought would go into the UI elements related to that part of the game. The chat boxes would be detachable, resizable, and fully customizable. It was not a rare sight to have 5 or 6 separate chat windows open at the same time, especially when trying to organize a raid. Nowadays, little thought is being put into the chat box by the devs, and the self-fulfilling prophecy continues. People would be forced to communicate with each other to get anything done, and as a result, most people were friendly and cooperative. Of course, there used to be a few trolls here and there, but those were the exception rather than the rule, and they were swiftly dealt with by the community as a whole. Gradually, chat lost its appeal as most communications were moved to 100 different discords and voice chats of one type or another. It is not a rare sight to see a game's discord be more active than the actual game. Perhaps that is saying something. Back then, MMORPGs and the internet itself was a young man's game. Yes, that means you. Statistically, you used to be a young man. You were also what would back then be described as a nerd. Back in the days of EverQuest, the only RuneScape, and even World of Warcraft. These days, as evidenced by the analytics on my MMO-related videos, you are still the same people, but are now in the 40 to 50 bracket instead. As a result, you probably don't vibe with the Discord kids, and also don't see the necessity of voice communication in an MMORPG. The result is a community that does not function as it used to, and this has a great effect in the slippery slope that led to the downfall of MMORPGs as we once knew them. We will revisit this phenomenon in the next episode of this series, so please subscribe if you want to see it when it comes out. Back in the day, you would meet someone outside the dungeon, team up with them out of necessity, and since you were probably in the same level range, you organically made a friend that would level with you to the endgame. They might be an experienced player leveling an alt, a character made specifically for that dungeon, or even a new player that was at the same stage as you. You might join their guild, they might join yours, or you could even start a guild together and pick up any stragglers you meet along the way. Once at the endgame, your connections and network, built over several months of leveling and idle chatting at the social or market hubs, would prove to be the most valuable resource when the time came to tackle the most important social activity an MMORPG has to offer: the raid. This was a sacred place and activity where only the most elite and respected portion of the player base would get to organize or even see. They would get to pick and choose who gets to raid and who doesn't. Ninja looting a raid boss, for example, would mean that you just burned an endgame toon that would never get to participate in anything of the sort ever again. If anybody knew your alts, those would be burnt as well. You see, paid name changes were not a thing back then. Reputation meant something. Actually, reputation meant everything. Courtesy would be respected and generosity would pay off in the long term. This, unfortunately, is no longer the case. The fact that you no longer need to know or be known by people to achieve your in-game goals means that you don't need to be at your best behavior, as this is no longer a social space. This is how you end up with players on Dungeon Finder that cry and rage quit in the middle of a difficult dungeon run. They were not made to feel the consequences of being unsociable, and as a result, they feel that it is acceptable and every group they join sucks. The switch from community to efficiency is one that we have all paid for in more ways than one. Patience, compassion or camaraderie is not needed, recognized or rewarded anymore. It is all just a pure numbers game for loot nobody cares about in a world full of strangers. When was the last time you made a new friend in an MMORPG? Please take the time to share your MMO community-related experience from both the past and the present in the comments below. I'm very interested to hear your own war stories. Now, let's look at possible solutions to this problem, both from a developer as well as a player's perspective. As a player, a simple mindset shift where people are almost as important a resource as loot or materials is more than enough. Efficiency is fine, but it is not, nor should it ever be, the end goal for the majority of players. Take your time to build a team with people you enjoy the company of. Be fair, generous and patient, and eventually you will be rewarded by having a group of in-game friends ready to help you out when you need them. The reason you are playing an online game in the first place is because other people are a big part of the content you are meant to experience. Help them overcome their weaknesses, ask for help to overcome yours, and in the end everyone gets a more enjoyable time. Maybe even stick around for a couple of minutes after a dungeon run for a chat or to exchange information with other players. Your current legendary loot will lose its shine sooner or later, but a group of friends who are there to help you out when in need will never lose their value. On the developer side, the focus on making the journey comfortable or providing skips, automated group finders, auction houses and bot-assisted dungeon runs should be used with caution if not removed altogether. Instead, the need for spaces where players can actually interact with each other in the form of social hubs or places where people go to find a team in the game by talking to each other, and maybe even some obstacles or puzzles that require communication and teamwork to break the ice in the beginning of the dungeon would be a good way forward. The developers could also include rewards for helping and guiding new players, include systems that strengthen the bonds between players, and the most important of all, stop selling progress that invalidates the game. RuneScape 3 seems to be learning that lesson slowly, and perhaps everyone else should do the same thing. Focus on the experience and emotions you want your players to have, and keep monetization simple and honest. That is the only way to make an MMORPG that stands the test of time. The fact that all major MMORPGs have several questionable monetization methods running concurrently is not something that draws people in. It is something that they tolerate and cannot wait to get rid of once a game provides a similar experience without the predatory monetization that appears to be the main factor for the downfall of the genre. With that said, I would like to hear your take on the issue. Where would you like to see the genre go? Is there any part of the progress we have seen in the systems of the last few years a good thing, or something that takes a core part of the game out of the equation? Thank you for watching. Like it if you like it, subscribe if you want to see more. See you in the next one.